Thanks also for waiting for me. Our last session turned out to be fun, with lots of questions, and I hope this one is too. You guys are by the time you're done here, it's death by PowerPoint. I get that. So this we want to be a conversation. Okay, we don't want it to be just like Carlene, right? She's my hero. She's a mentor of mine. I love the way she talks. I love the way she engages. That's what I'd like this to be. Okay, so although it got me in trouble last time because we ran late, I don't want you to wait until you have questions or input. I want you to just quickly raise your hand, and I want to hear from you too. Okay, fair enough? Okay, so setting expectations, best of career advice is over here. No problem, right? No pressure. But these are the things in the 4 years since we launched YouTern where we've helped about 100,000 people find jobs that couldn't before. College students, career transitioners, military veterans. These are the things that have helped them the most. Okay? Now there are some assumptions made, and we'll go through these as we go along, because there are some basic requirements of an income opportunity search. Notice I did not say job search. There's a big difference now. We're no longer in a 9-to-5 world, as Carlene said earlier, and Phil reinforced. Okay, again, 50% of you, every other person in this room, when they find their next gig, it is not going to be W-2 based. It's going to be 1099 based. Everybody know what that is? Right? Contractor. Or it's going to be a freelance opportunity. Or it's going to be you starting your own business. Or it's going to be working for somebody like Phil Blair. Right? We call them super temps. Okay, there are people that have bounced around from super temp to super temp job. They're now making more money than people with a real quote-unquote job. Okay, because they know what's in demand, they know how to sell it, they know who to sell it to. Okay? All right, here's the real key to this, is that almost nobody does this stuff. Almost nobody takes the time to do what we're going to talk about in the next 45 minutes. So if nothing else, if you do these things, you will set yourself apart. You will be different. Okay, you will beat your competition. Do 2 or 3 of them, now we're really talking. Do 5 or 7 of them, now we're earning income. Okay? All right, so with all that, let's jump in. This is a personal pet peeve of mine. Okay, because I do a lot of speaking, and I used to hand out a lot of business cards at the end of the speaking gigs, right? Because people have questions, a little line sets up, you answer some really good questions, you exchange business cards, right? Or you go to a career fair and you exchange business cards, or a networking event and you exchange business cards, and I never hear back from anybody, right? Now, the business cards aren't expensive, but to me, it's an oath. When you take a business card, you take my business card, that is a solemn oath that you are going to reach out to me. I'm an easy guy to find. Email, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest. My crew made me get on Pinterest, right? I don't know why, but I'm there, okay? You have to follow up. Now, you can't follow up with everybody, right? Just like you can't apply for every job you find. You have to be selective. You have to be deliberate. And don't just think, oh, can this guy help me? Think, can I help them? Right? Think, do we have the potential for a mutually beneficial relationship here? If that person's a taker, you don't want anything to do with them. Right? But don't take the business card. Okay? If you're a taker, they're not going to contact you either. It has to be mutually beneficial. Both parties must benefit from the relationship. Okay, those are the people you want to follow up with. Those are the people you want to make a high priority. Okay? You have to set up a time, like today. Who has, in their personal calendars, set up 2 hours this evening or 2 hours tomorrow morning over coffee to follow up with everybody they met here today? That's what I thought. Right? Guys, this is huge. It has to be that deliberate. When you go to an event like today, when you go to a networking event, when you do a Twitter chat, when you communicate to somebody in a LinkedIn group, you now have to add that to your to-do list. It has to be that deliberate. Okay? Because if it's not, it doesn't happen. Okay? By the way, this applies especially after a job interview. Okay, I've hired about 10,000 people over the last 10 years. Okay, that's a lot. Okay? I've been fortunate to be with 3 startups now that have done really, really well. And I get thank you notes, probably 20 of them. 20 thank you notes. 20 handwritten thank you notes out of 10,000. 20. Now, I didn't hire all 20 of those, but I wanted to. Right? Send a thank you note. Now, keep it in your style. If you're a technology guy, send an email. That's fine. Right? If you're a little bit more old school or you really want to impress, send a handwritten thank you note. That's great. But you got to follow up and you got to say thank you. Okay? Really big issue. And again, network with purpose. Right? When you come here, did anybody have anybody in mind? Did anybody check out the speakers that were going to be here today to say, I really want to meet that guy? Yes? Good for you guys. I did too. And I've already met 4 of them. And I've kind of met Helen, but we're going to talk more later. Okay? I had 5 people I really, really wanted to meet today. Okay? I'm 80% so far. Helen, I'm finding you later. Okay? Network with purpose, guys, and then follow up. Personalize everything. The days of going to Kinko's and making 100 copies of your resume died in 1974. Okay? Everything has to be personalized. Cover letters have to be personalized. Your LinkedIn profile has to be personalized at least to the industry and to your target companies. How many people are actively looking for work or income opportunities? Okay, how many of you have a target list of companies that you really, really, really want to work for? Good. A few? What a big deal. When you get that focused about the kind of companies you want to work for, now your job search comes alive. Okay? And once you do that, now you can start personalizing your resumes and your cover letters to those kind of companies. Otherwise, you're trying to be everything to everybody. Does not work. 138 applications are received for every job opening. Most of them are generic. If you personalize it, your resume, your cover letter, even your LinkedIn profile, you're the one that stands out. You're the one that gets the attention. Okay, personalize everything. Especially in the job interview. When you finally get to the job interview, make sure that that company, that day, that hour knows this is the job for you and be able to tell them why. Why? Because nobody does that. At the end, when they say, okay, well, do you have any questions for us? They typically hear, no, you pretty much covered everything. Right? Oh, what a waste of an opportunity. Right? If nothing else, say, you know what, I don't have any questions right now, but I do want to talk about me being in this role. Right? I want to talk to you about why this is important to me and what about your company I love and why I would be a great fit here. Can we talk about that? The recruiter's going to get a drink of water or something stronger and go, holy crap, nobody's ever said that to me. Right? You got to do it. You have to personalize the conversation. You can't go through the motions like it's just like every other job interview. It's not. This is your opportunity right now to get a job, and you must personalize everything you say. All right? And then there's the whole personal branding thing. Okay, we'll get into more of this later. Everybody knows what I mean when I say personal branding, right? Yes? Not really? Okay, so personal branding is kind of a buzzword, but it basically means, you know, like a company has a brand. Coca-Cola, right? They have a brand. They sell a Coke and a smile, right? Why do they sell a Coke and a smile? Because if you actually knew what was in that crap, you would never buy it. Right? Right? That's the way they position themselves, right? So without all the cynicism, that's what we do for ourselves. What are we about? What do we stand for? What's important to us? How do we contribute? What's our value? Right? That's your personal branding. And it has to be personalized. Right? It can't be results-driven, detail-oriented, hard worker, blah, 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 blah. Don't laugh, because I know you guys got this on your resume. Right? Because everybody does. Right? Get rid of that. Replace it with something unique. Tell me something more in-depth about you. Tell me what you care about. Okay? All right. This is one of my favorites. Storytellers make the best sellers. In every one of our situations, we have a story to tell. And it's the people who do it really, really well that gain an edge. Okay? We all have value. There's something we all do really well. Okay? Some of us haven't identified what that is because we're still in that detail-oriented, hard worker, results-driven thing. Okay? But we all do something really, really well. And we do it for a reason. Okay? Can I pick on anybody? Does anybody know what they do really, really well? And is brave enough to raise their hand? Good. What do you do really, really well? Okay, and how does that impact? Why do you do that?
Because I love to write. I have since I was a child, and I love the English language and the words, the meanings, all of that.
Who was your inspiration as a child for writing?
Mrs. Megan, my junior year and senior year English teacher, English Lit.
Okay, I'd hire her in a second. Right? That's a great story, right? I write because, it's a good part-time job and I get to do it from home and it pays pretty well. That's what most people say, right? You have a passion-based story, right? That sets you apart from everybody else. Does anybody else have a story like that? Where they can talk about the why of what they do? What drove them to that profession? Or that cause? Or that mission? Okay, if you don't, you need that kind of a story. What's your name? Susan. You need a Susan story. Everybody needs a Susan story. That's what separates you from everybody else that does exactly what you do. Okay? If I give you one homework assignment today, it's you have to develop your own story and then go practice it. Okay? On your iPhone, video yourself. Android, get in front of the mirror. Do it in front of your spouse or your friends. Practice your story. Be able to tell it in a sincere, concise way. Okay? Middle, beginning, end. Okay? All right. Now, part of this, as Phil said earlier, is the whole elevator pitch thing. I am not a big believer in the typical elevator pitch. My mentor in this area is a guy named Chris Westfall. Write that name down, please. Chris Westfall. It's westfallonline.com. Chris Westfall, I didn't even know when I met Chris. I didn't even know there was such a thing. But Chris Westfall is the National Elevator Pitch Champion. Chris, Westfall, Westfall. Yeah, and he is a relentless giver, guys. If you contact him and tell him I said to check him out, he will answer you. Okay, follow his stuff. He's written 2 books on the subject. It's amazing. And it's all about telling a relevant story to your audience. Relevant to your audience. Okay? Anybody here still have an objective statement on their resume at the top? I'm looking for a position, blah, 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 blah. Okay, 2 things. Delete it. It sucks. Nobody cares. And 2, replace it with your story. Replace it with what you're passionate about. Replace it with your elevator pitch, concisely told. Okay, that impresses recruiters. Okay? All right. Again, what's your story? You have to make it relatable to your audience. It could be an employer. It could be a freelance opportunity. It could be a new client. It could be a potential business partner. Remember, we're not in a 9-to-5 economy, right? Everybody you meet, including today, is a potential partner or customer or vendor or employer. Okay? You have to be able to tell this story at a moment's notice. Okay, you have to present yourself as a problem solver, a solutions provider. This is the number one thing employers and customers are looking for. If the employer or your potential customer has a problem that your skill set will allow you to solve, you have an income opportunity. Okay, that's how you have to approach this. Okay, I'll give you a hint on what the problem is trying to solve. The problem an employer is trying to solve. Under job requirements or job description or the next 3 to 5 bullets is exactly what is most important to that employer. Forget all the other fluff. You know, my ABC company is a dynamic blah, blah, blah at the top. None of that matters. It was written by marketing and lawyers. Okay, cut right to job description and job requirements and qualifications or job qualifications. That's where it matters. That's what matters. Okay? Look at those 3 to 5 bullets. Find out if you can do about 60, 80% of them. If you can, you have a target. You have a lead. You don't have a job yet. You don't have an interview yet. You have a lead where your skills match what the problem they're trying to solve. Now figure out how to articulate how you're going to solve it. Because if you do that, if you present your cover letter as a problem solver, if you position your resume as, I have the solution to the challenge you're facing right now, you get the interview if nobody else does. Okay, nobody does this. Okay, has anybody ever had their own business? Okay, so what's your name? Yep. Okay, so what was your business? Okay, so in-home daycare. What problem were you trying to solve? Okay, and what made you good at it?
What made me good?
Yeah.
Because I have a background in child development, and I just love the honesty of it.
Excellent. All right, so you had a problem, they had a problem, and you had the solution, right? Was it hard to find work?
No.
There you go. Now, why don't we all approach it with that mindset? Right? There's a great theory about resumes and what they should really say, and it goes to instead of thinking of your resume as an autobiography of your career to date, write it like a one-page proposal. Just like you would if you were starting your own company. Right? Read the resume that you're about to submit next and find out, ask yourself if it's a one-page proposal or an autobiography. If it's an autobiography, you'll never hear from that employer. Phil alluded to this earlier. Unless you already know somebody at that company that's championing you now, an enthusiastic employee referral, sending a resume is a total waste of your time. It's not going to result. By the way, same with job boards. I said this in last session and nobody believed me. Well, maybe not nobody, but if you click the Apply Now button on Monster.com and Indeed.com, etc., 1 in 237,000 of those actually turn into a job. Okay, if you are an enthusiastic employee referral, you will get the job 2 out of 5 times. So 1.25 million or 2 out of 5. See the difference? Yes, sir.
So if you change your objective statement and delete it and change it and put in a Susan story or some sort, is that resume being submitted to the enthusiastic support of an internal person?
Yes. Theoretically. Best possible situation, yes.
So you're still avoiding the resume
Yep.
software?
Yep. Yeah. Now, that's a great point. We talked about it in the last session. Everybody knows a human almost never sees your resume, right? Right? It's an applicant tracking system sees your resume. It's looking for keywords through an optical recognition software that looks for specific keywords in your resume. A human will not see it until it finds those certain keywords. Okay? And then it goes in a pile of about 400 other resumes. And it still takes weeks and weeks and weeks for a human to actually read them. Okay? This bypasses that, all of that. Okay, one-page proposal specific to that challenge. Okay? Yes?
Is it possible to determine the company's problem or challenges through the job description and post?
Most of the time it is, but here's what's great about social media, and a great segue to this next slide, actually. We can find out almost anything about anybody, just like employers can find out about us. Remember how Phil said, if you lied, I'll find out? Guess what? We get to do the same thing, right? If a company is blowing smoke, and they're not that great to work for, we can go to Yelp and find out. We can go to Glassdoor.com and find out. We can go look on their social media and find out what their customers really think about them. Right? I did this on United Airlines last night. It was not pretty. Okay, now I was mad at them, so I was already looking for negative things, and I found it. Right? But guys, we can do the same thing. Right? So even if we can't from the job description to answer your question, we can do it on Glassdoor, Yelp, Google reviews. We have so much available to us now that we didn't used to have. Yes. Yep. Well, there's the key. Nobody's going to say, the last guy who had this job was never on time, didn't do the work on time, pissed me off daily, I didn't like him, and he had really bad BO. Right? Nobody's ever going to say that. right? But one of those first 3 to 5 bullet points might be punctuality is a must, right? What's that tell you about the person who wrote the job description? The last person didn't do that, or it wouldn't be in the top 3 to 5, right? You have to read between the lines. Okay, this is one of my favorite, and I get in a little bit of trouble for this, but this is what we have on social media for us. Okay, we can find out almost anything on anybody, and not just the company, but the recruiter that we're going to interview for. Okay, we can look them up on LinkedIn. We can do Googles. We can do Google. Anybody know what Google Alerts are? Okay, so if you go to google.com/alert, you can set up an alert that sends to your inbox every time that company is mentioned or that recruiter is mentioned by name, it will come to your inbox. Every time they're in the news. Every time they do something amazing, every time they do something bad. Okay, it will be delivered to you. It's free. Okay, great tool. LinkedIn, great tool. Right, we can find out what people think. Glassdoor, Yelp. We can find everything, almost everything about everything. Now, we don't want to use it, you know, ridiculously. Like, I just heard a story yesterday where a guy walked in and said, hey, I saw on Facebook that you really like Italian cooking, and my dad runs an Italian restaurant. Can I give you his card? And the recruiter went, okay, creepy. Right? You should not know that about me. Right? You think you got the next round of interviews? No. Right? So we don't want to take it to extremes, but we have to do our due diligence. Why? Because they are on us. They're doing it. They're finding out what kind of person you are. Phil sat up here and said, there's 18 things that I can't ask you, and then if you read between the lines, he basically said, we're going to go find out all those things. We can't legally ask you to answer the question, but I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn whether you're a good person or not. I'm going to read whether you had too many drinks out of a red Solo cup when you were in college. Right? I'm going to find this stuff out. Right? You have to find out about the employer. You are interviewing them too. Right? You're not so desperate that you want to go work for an employer that is not a good match for you. You have to be a stalker. You have to do your due diligence. And this is the part I get in trouble for is I always say it's not officially stalking until you get a restraining order. Okay, that's how far you can take this. Okay, just be cool about it, be subtle about it, but learn everything you can. Nobody does this. Everybody just sees a job opening, they send their resume, they hope for an interview. Oh my God, I got an interview, and then they run to the interview and they didn't do any homework. Right? We can't be that guy. Okay, because you finally got an interview. Right? You finally got an interview, and then you don't do the work that it takes to do the interview well. You just can't get there. Okay, don't listen to echo chamber advice. And when we wrote this slide, we knew some of this advice might contradict what you're going to hear today. And I was willing to take that chance because the reality is there's some really, really bad career advice out there. Now, I, thankfully, have not heard any today. Not one. I'm so impressed with the people that I've heard talk so far today. And so here's some of them. That your resume must be in a certain format or say certain things, like that whole results-driven, detail-oriented, blah, blah, blah. Okay, if it's a cliche, it should not be on your resume. If everybody else says it, you should avoid it deliberately. Okay, if everybody tells you your resume should only be 1 page or 2 pages, then do something different. Do a 1 3/4. Right? Do something deliberately different. Okay, be different so the employer notices you. Otherwise, 6 seconds, boom, 6 seconds, boom. Ooh, 1.5 pages, I never see that. Right? Little things like that make a difference. Okay? Social media is for kids. We talked about this in our last session. Guys, if you're not on social media, I don't care how old you are, I don't care how technology averse you are, if you are not on social media in this economy, you do not exist. Period. 94% of recruiters are going to go find you on LinkedIn as soon as they see that you are interested in a job, whether you submitted the resume or they get that enthusiastic employer referral or they met you at an event like this, they're going to go check you out on LinkedIn. If you're not there and you don't have that great picture that Phil talked about, you don't exist. Boom, end of discussion. Yes, ma'am. Okay, I hate Facebook. All right, but Facebook to me is, my kids being on Facebook instead of doing their homework, right? So I have a personal aversion to Facebook. However, it is an amazing way to display your passion for your work. Okay, everybody thinks Facebook is, this is what I had for dinner last night, oh, aren't my kids cute, first day of school, right, blah, 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 great party, good movie, right? What if on Facebook, any marketing people in here? Yeah? Who's your favorite blogger in marketing?
I don't have one. I just want to say, why do so many people say I hate Facebook like you just said?
Because the user experience is just terrible. We could talk 45 minutes on that, but they gave us something and they took it away, and I don't like that. They gave us our friends, and then they made it so we couldn't talk to our friends. And now you have to pay to talk to your friends, so it's frustrating for me. But Facebook, I'm a marketing guy, right? So I love Seth Godin. So on my Facebook page, I will put Seth Godin's latest blog post up. I will share that. I will give my thoughts on that. Okay? Now, if an employer is checking me out, and I do this, Seth Godin one day, Ken Blanchard the next, Ted Courtney the next day, all these guys influencers, and I am consistently posting once or even twice a day. It takes how long? 3 minutes? On my Facebook page. Now I'm showing my passion. I'm not just saying on my resume that I'm a passionate blah, blah, blah. And I'm not just stating it on my cover letter or on my LinkedIn profile. I'm proving it. I'm sharing what I believe to be important in my industry, right? In my niche. Now, all of a sudden, Facebook is a powerful tool, right? Now you have social proof of your passion that instantly makes you employable. Okay, does that make sense? So as much as I dislike Facebook and their business practices, I'm telling you guys, if you're on Facebook and you kind of need to be, and you do what I just said once or twice a week even, 5-10 minutes a week is all it takes. You set yourself apart. Okay? GPA and a degree are all that matter. Now this is important for 2 reasons. One, all these college students, 5 million a year, they're getting dumped into our workforce that are in no way, shape, or form ready to actually work. They don't have the soft skills, they don't have the people skills, they don't have the professional experience required yet. They're your competition, right? They are your competition for a lot of the jobs. Okay, now we tend to think, well, I never did finish my degree, and I didn't get that good of grades. What, in 1974? Who cares? You guys heard Phil say this, right? 10 years ago, didn't exist in my world. Stop dwelling on it. Just realize this is a competitive advantage for guys our age. Okay, because we're not just relying on a degree and good grades. We have something to sell. Yes, ma'am?
But do you think it's important or could be important to finish your degree?
Oh, absolutely. But for a different reason than it used to be. A degree used to make us special, right? Now, anybody under about 25 to 27, 84% of them will have a degree. It's like high school diploma used to be. Right? A college degree doesn't make us special, it helps us meet minimum requirements. So it's absolutely important. It just isn't going to help us get a job. Okay? Well, yeah, because, well, I'll try and explain. Take a 23-year-old college student who went through school, they got their degree, decent grades, but they did no internships, no apprenticeships, didn't do anything other than working at McDonald's or Starbucks. Right? Nothing to actually work on their career. Okay? Employers are not interested. They don't care. Right? Because they have all these applicants, 138 applicants per position. They have all these applicants who got their degree and got decent grades and also did 5 internships and did an apprenticeship and volunteer all the time and give back to the community and go to Khan Academy and Coursera and all these places to self-learn. Right? See, sorry? Well, same thing. We just talked about that in our last session. It's amazing. Everybody hear of Khan Academy? Okay, so guys, check this out. It's an amazing tool. Amazing. Khan Academy, Khan Academy. Coursera, Coursera. One more I'll suggest you, openculture.com. Openculture.com has 1,000 free college courses that you take at your own pace online. Right? All amazing tools for guys our age that need to close the gap. C-O-U-R-S-E-R-A. Anybody else have to see the word in their head before they can spell it? Yeah. All right, you guys got to check this out because that's the stuff that's going to separate you, not this stuff. Okay, one of the big things on here, guys, is that job board thing. Please stop counting on job boards. I know it used to work really well, but unemployment at one point when it was working really well, and by the way, that's the industry I come from. I started in 1999 with a job board company called regionalhelpwanted.com. We grew from one little job board in Poughkeepsie, New York, and then the second one in Reno, Nevada, that was mine, to 322 local job boards. Okay, I used to love local job boards, especially local job boards, but I'm telling you right now that's not the way to get a job. You must network your way in. Stop hitting the apply now button. It's not helping you. It might make you feel good. You might be able to tell your spouse or yourself that you applied for 12 jobs today, good day. It's not. You're never going to hear from those people. Right? You have to stop listening to that advice. How am I doing for time, Helen? Am I late again? Okay, I can do this. Okay. Oh, how did that get up there? A picture of my new book that's coming out tomorrow. The point of that book is Carlene did a wonderful job of bringing us from our agricultural background to the industrial age. Okay, we're taking that a step further. We're taking us from the industrial age to what we're calling the social age. That's where we are now. Okay, and the way that we embrace the social age, besides getting on LinkedIn and on Facebook and on Twitter and wherever else your interests bring you, Pinterest, Instagram, many of the other niche sites out there, Reddit is a great one. You have to be willing to read and digest and absorb the content. You don't need to be in a college course to learn something. I can point you to Seth Godin's blog, and he will say something in 185 words that will completely change the way you think about that part of your job. In 185 words, not a 26-week course. Right? That's the power of the social age. We have available to us, no matter how old we are, no matter how technology averse we are, we have available to us all kinds of information that help us grow, that help us learn and become relevant again. Okay, all of us have that power. All we have to do is get a laptop or an iPad or a smartphone and dive in. No more excuses, no more reasons. You can buy an iPad now for $79 at Office Depot right now, $79. Right? Or I'm sorry, a pad, not an iPad. Right? It may be an Android version, and it may only be 7 inches. But you can learn, you can read, you can share. Right? $79 is the entry level. A smartphone, everybody heard Phil and Carlene's advice about a smartphone, right? Minimum requirement. How many of you went, oh God, I hope nobody sees my flip phone? Right? We've all been there. My wife, who's a rocket scientist, literally, I always said if I ever got married again, I'd marry somebody smarter than me. Jackpot. Right? I married a rocket scientist. She didn't have a smartphone until a year ago because she was worried about privacy in it. Now, the first thing she does when she wakes up, check the smartphone. Grandkids, kids, blah, blah, right? Work. Last thing she does before she goes to sleep, here's on the smartphone again. Right? It's addicting, but it's also enabling. It helps us get back up with technology. It's a minimum requirement of our lives right now. Okay? And it's because that's a great device to learn on and to share. Okay, if you read that great blog post, you don't need to go home to a laptop. You can share it right there from the laptop. It takes 5 seconds. It's amazing. Okay? Yes? Oh, we're not going to talk about that. That was a shameless plug, but it is coming. Huh? No, it is. It's it's available on Kindle starting tomorrow. We're actually quite excited about it. Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. In the industrial age, we absorbed formal education. That's how we learn things. Right? Everybody can relate to that? Yeah? High school, college, something, right? In the social age, we learn informally. We learn something new every day. Okay, now I know you're learning something new today because you're here today. You made the effort to be here at this event today. What about yesterday? Anybody learn anything absolutely new yesterday? How did you learn it? Who said yes? How did you learn it?
I went to a social banquet.
You went to a social banquet. Okay, anybody else? What did you learn yesterday?
USA doesn't make business loans.
Okay, and how did you learn that? I'm sorry? Yeah, right? We're learning things every day. We have to embrace that. We have to have an open mind to do that. Our job-seeking competition, especially those younger than us, is doing this every hour of every day. It's how they start their day, it's how they end their day. Yes, ma'am? I'm sorry? Informal learning, self-learning, self-teaching, right? And guys, at our age, when we start to do this, I told this story earlier, when we built YouTern, they came to me and said, we can't go with the direction we thought we were going to go. We have to go through social media and blogging. And I said, yeah, that's not going to happen. I'm not doing that. Because again, all I knew about Facebook was my kids not doing their homework and they're on Facebook instead. Right? I hated it. I didn't want to be a Twitter face. Now I have 30,000 Twitter followers. What? That's what I knew about social media. It's a combination of Facebook and Twitter. I knew nothing. I was an idiot. All right? And that was just a few years ago. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Yes?
I just wanted to mention for people that aren't aware of this, that YouTube.com has invaluable...
Oh, yeah. Great resource. Thanks for mentioning that. YouTube is amazing. Good. Yep. Yeah. And by the way, to get there, what a shortcut for that is you type in a browser, any browser, YouTube.com space, and then whatever you want to learn, and you'll have all kinds of videos to watch. And by the way, it's the same with Khan Academy. It's all video based. Yes? What'd you learn? You learned you were Jewish last night? Oh, no.
And he told his father, and they stopped her from committing suicide.
See, there you go. That's amazing, right? That's amazing. By the way,
He never told anybody that before publicly.
that's amazing, right? That's the kind of thing.
That was in light of Robin Williams' suicide.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing, guys. We hear stories all the time, right? My wife says all the time, her church is her social network, her original social network. What we're talking about here today doesn't replace any of that. That's what makes us human, right? The social age amplifies stuff like that, right? Have you guys heard the story of Panera Bread and the clam chowder? Okay, so I'm going to make this really quick, I promise. Panera Bread, they have a local store, grandma's dying, grandson calls Panera and says, my grandma's almost gone, she wants your clam chowder, that's like her last meal. And they said, well, it's Thursday, we don't have clam chowder. And he said, no, you didn't hear me. Grandma's dying, I need clam chowder. So the manager gets on the phone, says, we're whipping up clam chowder right now, where do you want it delivered? Right? So Panera brings them clam chowder. Simple thing, right? Pretty much like what you just described, just a human thing, right? This guy, once grandma passes away, he writes a note on his Facebook page to Panera Bread thanking them. Right, between him and Panera. His mom reposts it, and this time copies Panera, because he didn't. 1 million likes later, Panera Bread's stock went up 28%. Right, because of one good deed. That's social amplification. Right, social had nothing to do with what that manager at Panera did. Social age expands, amplifies everything we do. Good or bad, by the way, good or bad. All right, real quickly. Soft skills are, yes, sir. Yep, that's actually a story in our book. We actually refer to that as, there's a $5 rate, and everybody got on social, and all of a sudden the rate disappeared. All right, your soft skills are huge, and I'll cut through this quickly. Everybody knows what soft skills are, right? Yes, I hope? Okay, so soft skills are not the skills that help you actually do a job, but the skills that make you able to communicate, to problem solve, to lead a team, to think analytically, to be likable, all the stuff that people skills, transferable skills. No matter where you go, no matter what job you are in, Those are your soft skills. Okay, we, at our age, we've never been taught this stuff. We don't know what our soft skills are. And honestly, we're very, very bad at identifying our own soft skills. Guys, go to your mentors, go to your friends, go to your family and say, what am I really, really good at? Not my technical stuff, not my professional stuff as a person. What am I really good at? Also, don't be afraid of saying, where do I need a little help? Where do I need to improve? Because employers care about that too. You have to know what to sell. Sometimes you have to know what not to sell. You certainly have to know what to improve. Right? Those are your soft skills. Okay, we must be able to talk about them intelligently, sell them as part of our value, and we must be able to demonstrate them. We need social proof of what we do well and why we do things. Okay? If you don't know what your soft skills are, and those of you who didn't identify to that phrase, soft skills, you do not know what your soft skills are yet. Go home and do that. Write down what you're good at, what makes you, you. Because that's what makes you employable. That's what makes you a good partner. That's what makes you a good person. Okay, we have to know who that is. Nobody does this. Nobody takes a self-assessment. Yes?
Are hiring managers factoring in emotional intelligence?
Oh, emotional, another phrase. Your soft skills help build your emotional intelligence, EQ. Phil didn't mention it today. This is a huge issue in human resources right now. Your emotional intelligence is how well you react when things aren't going well, when you're outside your comfort zone, okay? Google that. It's really important. We don't have time to go into it today, unfortunately, but I'm really glad you brought it up. Okay, here's one of my favorite things about career advice. Every time you go for an income opportunity, it is a competition, and it's not a competition between you and the recruiter. That is a myth. The recruiter is looking for the best person for that job that day. Who does that make your competition? Everybody else who applied for the same job on that same day. Right? That's your competition. Okay, we have to get a little fired up to compete. Okay, especially, you guys remember what Phil said? What do you think of the 50-year-old worker? Great question by Helen. What did he say? Old and tired and cranky, right? Okay, what would happen at our age if we walked in and we were the ones all fired up? Right? Anybody ever play sports younger now? Okay, what did you play? Okay, so did you ever, football locker room, you go in and listen to Mozart, chill out a little bit, right before you go out on the field. Banging the heads against the wall. Guys, I'm telling you, if you go to your car, sit in the parking lot, arrive early, and sit there and scream your fool head off, and get all excited, or go in the bathroom and yell at yourself in front of the mirror. Not too loud, you don't want people to think you're crazy. But get a little fired up before you go in for that interview or that opportunity. What a difference this makes, and nobody does it. We walk in nervous, we're sweaty, our hands are all sticky, we got sweat pouring down, it's yucky. Right? If you're going to have sweat pouring down, do it for a good reason, because you just went in the bathroom and screamed your full head off. Or the car got a little warm before you came in. Right? Guys, you got to have a little fun with this. You got to be ready to compete. Like the football thing, you can't just walk out on the football field and go, yeah, another game, whatever. Right? This is important stuff, and we have to get a little fired up. Okay, lastly, this is a real key for me because I work with so many job seekers, and they all sound and look and act the same. You have to be bold enough to be different. Okay? You can't be tired and cranky. What's the opposite of that? Fired up, right? You have to be different, and that takes a little letting go. We have to get out of our comfort zones, right? We can't be calm. We can't be, everything we think we're supposed to be. This is not church, right? Have a little fun with this, right? You got to be bold enough to be different. You also have to be bold enough to say no. No, that's not the right job for me. No, that's not the right income opportunity for me. I am focused, and I am bold enough and confident enough to know what I want. That's not for me. Because when we lose that, we start chasing things. We try to be everything to everybody. That's not okay. It doesn't work. It never has worked. Okay? You end up taking a job you don't like, and they don't like you. And then pretty soon you have this big gap on your resume again, and you're right back where you were 7 months ago. You have to be bold enough to say yes. You have to be bold enough to say no. You have to be bold enough to be yourself, whatever that is. Okay, if you're a little quirky, go find a company that likes quirky. Right? Simple as that. If you like tattoos, the Marriott's probably not going to hire you for the front desk, but the tattoo parlor is. Right? You have to go where your niche is. You have to go where you can be you. You can't be results-driven, detail-oriented, blah, blah, blah. You can't be all those things. You have to be whatever you are. And it takes a certain amount of confidence to pull that off. Okay? And if you don't have that now, go find it. Because that, above anything else, is going to help you find your next income opportunity. Okay? All right, so we don't have time for questions. I'm sorry I messed up again. But find me afterwards. I'll be out, be hanging around for a while. Okay, guys?
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Let's give a big hand